I remember the first time you saw me. You were 10. You wouldn't let go of your mother's hand. You jumped back when the waves touched you, like you'd been jolted awake from some long nightmare. But you only backed away a little the second time the waves washed over your feet. And on the third, you actually laughed. You were knee-deep in the shallows, smiling like you hadn't known suffering. No pain. You took to the water quicker than a fish. My sweet, I would know. You were still so reluctant to let go of your mother's hand, but that adventure in you just won't be deterred to anything. And so, when she wasn't looking, you slowly waded through the water, towards the rocks, like a baby crab, moving ever so carefully on some strange beach where the sands feel different. You waded toward the rocks, towards me. I wonder how you look back on our first encounter. Whether you smile and stare off into space like me, or if your face heats up in embarrassment and you quickly shake away the memories. Fishtail! Fishtail! You screamed when you saw me, saw my cerulean scales shining in the water, and you scrambled back as I came closer, stuttering rapidly about mint chocolate chip ice cream and the cat plushie you still sleep with to this day. I wonder what was going on in that little head of yours. Did you think your life was in danger? You sobbed when you saw my palm reaching out. No webbing between the fingers. It was a human hand. Same as yours. Just a little bigger. With trembling steps, you reached out and grasped my fingers. The fear was gone from your eyes, but it only lasted a moment. Your mother called for you, and you bolted faster than a young swordfish could ever hope to. I never forgot your face, you know. Even as I returned to my world, deep below the ocean waves. That look of wonder in your eyes that only comes to children as they see everything for the first time. A year later, I heard your footsteps again. On the rocks. Slow and unsure. Nothing like what they sound now, as I see you happily walking towards me. But the way you walk is so very discernible. I could never mistake it. You were 11, a little taller, and a little braver. You hesitated. Once. Twice. On the third time, you called for me. Fishtail, you yelled. You scared almost all the fishes lurking in the shallows. It was a good thing I'd already eaten. I surfaced, and you almost managed to not back away this time. I wondered why you'd come to visit me again. You looked at me. I waited. You opened your mouth, but no sounds came out. In the end, you just sat down wordlessly and began watching the fishes swim nearer as they returned, with me on the rocks. And 22 years before your next visit. You sounded more confident now. You were 13 years old, on the cusp of teen years. That rebellious phase in one's life when she can no longer be confined in the cove by her mother. She must venture out, swim with the sharks and dolphins, delve deep into the bottomless ocean. I went through that years and years ago. You walked all the way to the edge of the beach, fist closed tightly around something. Curiosity must have been just as visible in my face as the trepidation in yours. But you're not shy. Not with me. You thrust out your hand. A small seashell, white as foam, lay on your palm. Were you presenting it to me? You wouldn't meet my gaze. Picked up the seashell. I looked at the thin, eroded etchings, wonder how long this little thing had spent in the depths. You blurted out that you thought I was pretty. I wonder sometimes, my sweet. Would you have stayed longer if I had responded with anything other than blank surprise? It all happened so quickly. Your face became redder than a Cape lobster and you ran away. Faster than I could ever hope to catch you on land. But I wasn't worried. As I held on to that shell, your strange little offering to me, I knew you would come back. And you did. And you came back every summer after that. Hey, stranger. What brings you to my corner of the beach today? Oh, you missed me. I see I found myself a real charmer. Please, don't apologize. No, I wasn't lonely. There's lots to do in the waters. I swim with the fish and I talk to them. They bring me stories from all over the world. And I dive down to explore the remains of ships from so long ago, searching for shiny things to add to my grotto, like the little mermaid. We already know all that. What did the fish tell me this morning? That you might bring over your friends when you had time to see me? No? You want me all to yourself? And you don't really have that many friends. A good few friends are all you really need, my sweet. There's nothing wrong with not being friends with everyone. All that means is that you have more time for me. So, what would you like to do today? Just sit and snuggle on the rocks? We can do that. Did you mean like this? No, I'm happy. I always am when you're around. In the summer of your 15th year, you came to see me on a windy day. The waves were higher than usual and the sky was gray. Your face seemed to mirror the weather. You wouldn't tell me what was wrong. Earlier that year, I had decided to go on a journey around the world. I told you about the sea of ice that surrounds the forgotten continent down south. About the penguins waddling in the cold wilderness on a narrow strip of rock, caring for their young. I told you about the sprawling reefs I had seen, about the corals, like colorful houses painted every shade known to humans and merfolk. You said you wanted to see the corals. I told you some lay further out from the beach, in the deep, too far away for you to swim. But you still wanted to see them anyway. That was the first and only time I gave you the gift of the merfolk. You sank below the waves, marveling at how you no longer felt cold or suffocated or afraid of the dark. I took your hand and we swam for miles. At last you could see the corals, a sight I had seen many times before. But it was new to you. You were too busy staring at the corals to notice me looking at you. And I understood where the child from 5 summers ago had disappeared. They lived in your eyes and they chose that moment to come out. No, I didn't say anything. It was just the birds. Oh, this thing in my hair? Yes, it's a seashell. I think you've seen it somewhere before. Really? Ah, it looks familiar, but you can't remember now? Yes, there are many seashells in the world, but this one is kind of special. Me. It's okay. You don't have to talk. I know we're both comfortable with the quiet. Just let me keep holding you and brush your hair for a bit. I still remember the words you said to me long ago. You were 18. You had been crying. And when you had cared about it hurt you. When you're at that age, the end of a relationship can feel like the end of the world. But I suppose such a thing always hurts. No matter how old you are, or how many times it's happened to you. On seeing me, tears swelled up in your eyes again. Salt water only belongs to the sea, not in your face. I didn't want to ever see you cry again. I wanted to protect you, to shield you from everything that brings you pain, to take you with me and see all the corals in the world. But you weren't ready for that yet. So I held you close and you sat on my lap, just like now. And we talked about everything above the roaring waves and below. I told you about maps and what sunbeams look like when they penetrate the water, about the creatures of the deep and the dreams that they can see even with no light in their eyes. I told you how long I had lived, the strange things and stranger people I had met, and how loneliness can find you even when you have the entire ocean to yourself, especially then. You talked about your family, about that random playlist you had been listening to on the way over, about the last book you read and how you wished it had not ended so quickly. You talked about not being able to stop growing up, even though you wanted so badly to. About how you kept getting older and older while I remained, cursed to swim the waters forever. Your body and time would turn frail, and you would forget things. You would forget your memories. Others would forget you. In the end, you were as afraid of being forgotten and left on your own as I was. But my sweet, you don't ever need to worry about being forgotten. It's the sea that remembers everything. It's not possible for me to forget you. To forget the things we said and did there on the rocks. I wished I could tell you this. I wish the words had come to me, but they didn't. Not in your language. Instead, I sang. You hadn't heard me sing before. I was singing to them, the jellyfish. They came. They filled the shallows all along the beach until the sea was glowing with its own light, a constellation of teeny, ghostly lights in the water. And as you watched them, you turned to me and said, someday, you would like to receive my gift again, to dive below the waves and live there with me. And it was a promise. And then the summer passed. No, my darling, my eyes have always been this way. I was just remembering. Oh, I heard you. I suppose I never did admonish you for calling me Fishtail, but you didn't stop even after I told you my real name. It's because I like it. Fishtail is an apt description of a mermaid from a 10-year-old's eyes. You may try to make fun of me, but I can hear the affection in your voice every time. Do you have to leave already? Can I see you again tomorrow? Good. You better come back. I will remember. Someday, my sweet. But the impermanence of promises isn't lost on me. If you decide you don't wish to leave the land after all, I will live there with you. I will care for you until you walk so far in the sand that I can't follow. But my sweet, I promise you, I will remember.